Late at night, Riley is walking home in the rain when something knocks him down. He's scared because he can't see who did it. He tries to run away, but something invisible throws him into a wall. He yells for help but no one's around. He almost falls into the water at a pier and then feels a sharp pain in his hand like a bite. Meanwhile, Bella and Edward are in a meadow. Bella's studying for an English test while Edward keeps asking her to marry him. Bella wants Edward to change her into a vampire, but Edward wants to wait until they're married. They tease each other about marriage and then Bella leaves to go home. Charlie reads about some murders in Seattle while Bella arrives home right on time. They talk about Bella being grounded, but Charlie wants her to spend time with other friends besides Edward. He suggests she visit Jacob, who's having a tough time lately. Bella tries calling Jacob, but he doesn't answer. She decides not to leave a message. Bella tries to drive to see Jacob, but her truck won't start. Suddenly, Edward appears in the passenger seat. He knows she was going to see Jacob and admits that he stopped her truck from starting to keep her safe. They argue about her safety with the Quileutes, but Bella insists she'll be fine until graduation. During lunch at school, Edward, Bella, and their friends plan for Jessica's graduation party, which will be at the Cullen house. Alice suddenly looks worried, hinting at a vision, but doesn't explain. Later, Edward drives Bella to see Charlie at the police station. They learn about a missing person case involving Riley Beers. Edward reveals that the Cullens are monitoring suspicious activities in Seattle, suspecting vampires. They're ready to investigate to keep Forks safe, but Bella worries about the Volturi finding out she's still human. Edward assures her they won't let it happen. Charlie agrees to let Bella visit her mom in Jacksonville for a few days, especially when he learns Edward is going too, though he's not thrilled about it. In Jacksonville, Bella and her mom talk about college. Renee hopes Bella will choose a college in Florida so they can be closer, but Bella plans to go to Alaska for its science program. Renee knows Bella wants to be with Edward. She gives Bella a quilt made from college t-shirts as a graduation present, which Bella loves. They hug happily. The Cullens are in the forest, waiting for Victoria. Alice spots her, and they chase her. Victoria tricks them into Quileute territory, where they can't go. The Quileute wolves join the chase. Victoria jumps back and forth across a stream to escape. When Emmett tries to follow, a wolf blocks him, and Victoria gets away. Later, Bella and Edward return to Forks and meet Jacob, who's upset about the Cullens trespassing. Bella learns they were after Victoria. Jacob explains the situation, and Bella realizes Edward lied about the trip to Florida. Angry, Bella decides to go with Jacob to the reservation. When Bella and Jacob arrive at the reservation, they're greeted by some of the Wolf Pack members. They tease Jacob about his thoughts about Bella. Bella meets Leah Clearwater, who has a mark of the Wolf Pack and a big chip on her shoulder. Sam, the leader of the pack, and his fiancée Emily come out. They talk about Victoria's return, and Sam assures Jacob they'll keep Forks safe. Inside, Bella sees Leah practicing wolf form. Later, Jacob explains about Leah and her brother Seth becoming Wolf Pack members after their dad died. He tells Bella about imprinting, where a wolf bonds with someone as their soulmate. Jacob denies imprinting on Bella, but she senses his discomfort when she talks about becoming a vampire. Jacob blurts out he'd rather see her dead than become a vampire, regretting it. Immediately, in Bella's room, Riley sneaks around, touching her belongings and stealing one of her blouses. He nearly attacks Charlie but hears someone at the door and escapes. Bella arrives home, telling Charlie she was with Jacob. Edward shows up, worried, and senses something's wrong. He finds evidence someone was in Bella's room and takes her to his house. The Cullens investigate but can't find the intruder's scent. They suspect a nomad vampire or Volturi involvement, but Alice disagrees, saying she's been watching the Volturi leader, Arrow, in her visions. The Cullens discuss protecting Bella's house, much to Rosalie's annoyance. Bella knows they can't watch over her, find Victoria, and the intruder while staying fed. During the day, Bella takes Jacob to her house to catch the intruder's scent. Jacob offers to track it but Edward doesn't trust him. Bella intervenes to stop their argument. The Cullens and wolves take turns guarding the house and hunting. Edward drops Bella off at the Quileute reservation, where she'll spend time with Jacob. Despite their partnership, There's tension between Edward and Jacob. Edward kisses Bella passionately before leaving, and Jacob hugs her warmly. Jacob takes Bella to a meeting of the Quileute Tribal Council, where they hear stories of the tribe's history. Billy Black recounts a tale of the Quileute spirit warriors encountering the Cold Ones, powerful vampires. The tribe's leader, Taha Aki, defeated one with the help of his wife's sacrifice. The Cold Ones remain the tribe's only enemy, and conflict is imminent. In Seattle, Riley oversees chaos, including a newly turned vampire named Bree. She's scared, but he offers little comfort, promising to find her blood and warns her to stay safe. At the Cullen house, they watch news about violence in Seattle caused by newborn vampires. Carlisle, Jasper, and Emmett explain to Bella that newborns are wild and dangerous. The Cullens realize someone is creating them to attack them. They suspect the Volturi's involvement, wanting Edward and Alice to join them. They decide to stop the newborns before the Volturi intervene. Bella finds Charlie looking at a missing poster for Riley, feeling his parents' pain. Charlie says he'd do the same if Bella was missing. At night, Bella talks with Edward about becoming a vampire. She's realizing she'll lose her family and friends as she'll never age. Edward warns her about the consequences and how he couldn't bear taking her soul. He believes it would be selfish to make her immortal just to keep her with him. Bella spends the day with Jacob on the reservation, enjoying the scenery. She invites him to the graduation party, but he's distant. Jacob finally admits he's in love with her and hopes she'll choose him over Edward. He emphasizes that he's warm and human, unlike Edward, and promises to fight for her. Jacob kisses Bella forcefully to prove a point, angering her. She punches him, breaking her hand. When Jacob drives her home, Edward is there and confronts Jacob for hurting Bella. He demands Jacob wait for Bella's consent before kissing her, and Jacob vows she'll ask him to one day. Charlie separates Edward and Jacob, believing Bella broke her hand hitting Jacob due to her clumsiness. Edward takes Bella to his house where Carlisle determines her hand is sprained, not broken. Emmett teases Bella about becoming a newborn, annoying Rosalie who leaves the room. Bella confronts Rosalie about her hatred, but Rosalie admits she's envious because Bella has a choice to be human or vampire, unlike her. Rosalie opens up to Bella about her tragic past. She was brutally assaulted and left for dead by her fiancé and his friends. Carlisle saved her by turning her into a vampire, but she resented him for it. Despite finding love with Emmett, she still longs for the human life she lost, especially the chance to have children with him. Rosalie warns Bella about the consequences of becoming a vampire, including the insatiable thirst for blood. Bella insists she wants to be with Edward above all else, but Rosalie believes Bella will regret her decision once she experiences the overwhelming desire for blood as a newborn vampire. Riley struggles to control the reckless newborn vampires in Seattle, warning them of impending danger if they don't keep a low profile. He senses something ominous approaching. Meanwhile, Jane and her Volturi companions observe the chaos from a rooftop. They debate whether to intervene or let the newborns fulfill their purpose. Jane considers terminating them immediately, but also recognizes they were created for a specific reason. Their decision will have significant consequences, as other vampires are watching the Volturi's response closely. Graduation day arrives, and Jessica's speech about making mistakes resonates with Bella, who contemplates her decision to be with Edward. At the party, Bella is surprised to see Jacob, who apologizes for kissing her without consent and gives her a bracelet. Suddenly, Alice has a worrying vision, revealing that trouble is coming to Forks. In the den, Carlisle explains to Jacob the threat of the newborn army, led by Riley Beers. Edward saw Alice's vision and knows they're coming to Forks to kill Bella. The Cullens and Quileutes agree to fight them together. Carlisle asks Jacob to talk to Sam about the Wolf Pack joining forces with the Cullens to train against the newborns. Jasper will teach them how to fight. Bella protests Jacob fighting, but he insists it's their duty. He reminds her she wanted to see the two groups work together. In the woods, the Quileutes remain in wolf form, still wary of the Cullens. Edward translates for them, relaying their questions about newborn vampires. Carlisle explains the strength and power of newborns due to their lingering human blood. Jasper shares his knowledge of newborns' fighting tactics and trains everyone in combat techniques to defeat them. He emphasizes the importance of not going for an obvious kill, as newborns will anticipate it. Jasper demonstrates his exceptional fighting skills and trains the Cullens for the upcoming battle. After training, Bella asks Jasper how she can help in the battle. Jasper explains her scent will distract the newborns, making them vulnerable. Bella is curious about Jasper's past experiences with newborns. Jasper shares his story of serving in the Confederate Army during the Civil War and meeting Maria, a vampire who used him to control newborns. He eventually broke free with Alice's help. As Bella watches Jasper and Alice share a kiss, she dreams of Maria manipulating Jasper to kill, with Victoria's face appearing at the end. Bella realizes Victoria is behind the newborn army and using someone else to avoid detection by Alice's visions. She shares her revelation with Edward, concluding that Victoria is the true mastermind. Riley continues recruiting for Victoria's army in Seattle. Edward plans to take Bella to a safe spot away from the battlefield during the fight with the newborns. Bella insists they stay together, fearing for each other's safety. Edward agrees to stay with her but decides they'll be guarded by Jacob's scent, which repels vampires. Jacob will carry Bella to the campsite while Edward stays close to protect her. Despite Edward's reluctance, they trust Jasper's strategy for the battle. Jacob carries Bella through the woods, engaging in a tense conversation about their roles in the upcoming battle. Bella refuses to dissuade Jacob from participating, knowing he wouldn't listen. Jacob reflects on his choice to yield the alpha position to Sam and acknowledges the consequences of their decisions. He hints at Bella's feelings for him and compares their situation to the Sam-Leah-Emily triangle. Bella braces herself, expecting Jacob to try and kiss her again, but he refrains, honoring his promise. Meanwhile, Edward waits on the field, anxious about Bella's safety. Jasper confirms that Bella's scent has ended as planned, but Edward struggles with the idea of Jacob carrying Bella, revealing his inner turmoil despite the necessity of the plan. Bella arrives home to find Alice charming her father into agreeing to a cover story about a camping trip. Alice will stay with Bella while the rest of the Cullens hunt for animal blood. Inside, Bella probes Charlie about his views on marriage, seeking insight into her own decision regarding Edward. Charlie admits he never found the right woman after his divorce but acknowledges the value of marriage, citing Renee's happiness with Phil. Their conversation takes an awkward turn as they discuss premarital sex, leaving both embarrassed. Bella arrives at the Cullen house for the sleepover, where Edward surprises her with a diamond charm for her bracelet. In his room, Bella finds a bed set up for her and brings up her desire to negotiate her own terms before agreeing to marry him. They share intimate moments, but when Bella expresses her desire to have sex, Edward hesitates, revealing his old-fashioned values. However, he surprises Bella by presenting her with his mother's engagement ring and proposing to her properly. Over in Seattle, Victoria manipulates Riley, who has fallen in love with her, into believing her lies and continuing to serve her sinister agenda. Bella and Edward mark a trail through the woods for Bella's safety, with Bella leaving drops of her blood along the way. Edward demonstrates his ability to resist the lure of Bella's blood, a skill he developed after believing she had died. They discuss keeping their engagement a secret from Jacob for now, wanting him to focus on the impending battle. As Jacob arrives to carry Bella the rest of the way, a storm approaches Forks, mirroring the tension building with the impending confrontation. Jacob reveals his plan to stay at the campsite overnight, with Seth taking over in the morning to allow Edward and Bella to stay informed about the battle. Despite their animosity, Edward and Jacob reluctantly cooperate to keep Bella warm during a freezing night in the mountains. Jacob's body heat proves essential to preventing Bella from getting frostbite, despite Edward's initial resistance. During a civil conversation while Bella sleeps, Edward and Jacob discuss their feelings for Bella and find common ground in their desire to protect her. Edward admits to being glad that Jacob is there, marking a significant shift in their relationship. As morning arrives, Seth relieves Jacob, and Edward and Bella reflect on the night's events with humor and affection. They share a light-hearted moment, joking about Bella potentially taking Edward's last name once they are married. As the battle unfolds, Bella rushes after Jacob, desperate to prevent him from engaging in reckless behavior. Despite her pleas, Jacob remains determined to confront the vampires, even suggesting that he might let one of them kill him in turn. In a moment of intense emotion, Bella asks Jacob to kiss her, and they share a passionate moment before he departs for the battlefield. Meanwhile, Seth returns to the campsite, taking over Jacob's place and maintaining the telepathic link with the pack to keep Edward informed of the battle's progress. On the battlefield, the Cullens and Quileutes fight side by side with expert teamwork, overwhelming the newborn army despite being outnumbered. Led by Jasper, they use their superior strategy and coordination to outmaneuver the reckless newborns. Victoria observes the battle briefly before fleeing the scene, realizing that her plans are unraveling. As Riley and Victoria confront Edward, tensions rise. Edward attempts to reason with Riley, appealing to his logical side and explaining Victoria's true motives. He emphasizes that Victoria's only goal is vengeance for James and that she selected Riley as her second-in-command solely because of his familiarity with forks. However, Victoria intervenes, manipulating Riley with gentle words of love and warnings about Edward's supposed mind tricks. Meanwhile, Seth remains hidden, prepared to ambush Victoria if necessary. The situation teeters on the edge as Edward desperately tries to reach Riley, while Victoria manipulates his emotions, exploiting his loyalty and fear. The outcome hangs in the balance as the confrontation reaches a critical point. As the fight gets really intense, Seth jumps in and stops Riley from hurting Edward too badly. Meanwhile, Edward is dealing with Victoria, who's still really mad about what happened to her boyfriend. Bella, seeing how dangerous things are, cuts herself to distract Victoria and Riley with her blood. This gives Edward a chance to fight back. Seth steps in again to stop Riley, but Victoria leaves him behind and goes after Bella. Bella doesn't back down, though. Edward fights Victoria and wins by chopping off her head. In the end, everyone's relieved that they won the fight against the bad vampires. As they regroup, Alice warns them about Jane's arrival, a dangerous member of the Volturi. Edward, Bella, and Seth rush to join the others. Meanwhile, a lone surviving newborn attacks, posing a threat to Leah. Jacob jumps in to help, but he gets seriously hurt in the process. The pack comes to his aid, but Carlisle explains that Jacob's rapid healing will cause his bones to set improperly. He promises to help once they reach Billy's home. With care, the pack carries Jacob away to safety. The Volturi arrive and interrogate Bree, but she doesn't know who led the newborn army. Jane orders Bree's execution, and the Cullens reluctantly step aside. Bella rushes to Jacob's side, where Carlisle is re-breaking his ribs to set them correctly. Carlisle assures Bella that Jacob will recover, and Billy thanks Carlisle warmly. Carlisle tells Bella that Jacob is asking for her. Bella visits Jacob, who accepts her decision but struggles with it. He promises to wait for her, even after she becomes a vampire. Later, Bella and Edward discuss their wedding plans in a meadow. Bella explains that being with the Cullens makes her feel complete, despite the challenges. They joke about telling Charlie about the wedding and share a passionate kiss as the scene ends.